everybody, and welcome back to a new video. I'm here with Regal, and this is going to be the first episode in a series of bunny episodes for an Easter theme. So I don't think it's a secret that I love and adore bunnies. But I wanted to take some time today and talk to you about my favorite breed of bunny, or rabbit, however you want to say it, and that is the Holland Lop. They are the smallest breed of lop. They should mature to no more than 4 pounds when they are fully grown, and they come in a wide variety of colors, my favorite of which being the magpie coloring, which is what Regal is here. So we're going to see how long Regal wants to pose for me today. But I wanted to talk to you about the Holland Lop type, what's really good, and what you want to see in this breed of rabbit, and what you don't want to see. So Regal is actually a great example of the Holland Lop head. She's got a wide muzzle, she's got a wide crown. The crown is the part of the head between the ears here. So it should be wide both ways so that the ears are able to lay flat against the head like this. And some Holland Lops will have a little bit. That rooster in the background is going to get real annoying real quick. Holland Lop should have a wide enough crown so that their ears can fall flat against the face. So here, her ears do a pretty good job of that. Her body is something that I actually really like too. It might be a little bit long in the shoulder. So what I'm doing here is posing her up properly. This doesn't hurt her. It doesn't make her uncomfortable in any way. It's just a matter of training them to sit like this. So what I'm trying to do is get her eye in line with her front foot and the front of her back foot in line with her hip. So her back foot is actually a little too far forward. I should ideally be putting this a little bit back. So now I've got her posed up. Oh, I did have her posed up good. But one thing that you got to watch for in this breed is that this piece here isn't too long. So her shoulder is a touch too long, but her body otherwise is really great. And I love her width of chest as well, and her bone. That just means that her legs are really thick. And honestly, in a Holland Lop, I don't think you can have legs that are too thick. So this is Regal's sister Royal. She's a black magpie. And she's also got a lot of these same attributes that I really like in her sister. So she's got a really wide muzzle, she's got a wide crown, great ears. That's also something I forgot to mention. They're maybe a touch long. I'd like to see them be about that short, but they're really nice and wide. They're flat. One of the things that you'll see in Holland Lops that aren't bred well, or just, you know, aren't really watched for that, is folded ears. And I do have a doe that has that actually, but her ears are way shorter than these two. So I like to see shorter ears on this doe and probably a shorter shoulder as well. So I have this little guy here. His name is T-Biscuit. You may remember him from my Easter video last year. And he's real spunky today, so I don't know if I'll be able to get him to pose for too long to explain what I want to show you guys. But he is the smallest bunny I have. He's like 2.8 pounds, but still got a massive Holland Lop head. Like, I love his head. This is chunky and wide. The ears are short and flat. His face is wide and square. But the one thing that I would really fault him on is being too finely built. So you could see that his front paws look a lot finer than Regal or Royals do. So that's kind of where I would fault him. But you can see what I mean. If I could get him to pose properly, super excited because everybody's got spring fever. But he has a lot shorter of a shoulder than Regal and Royal do. So that's something that you really have to pay attention to with these little guys, is seeing parts of their bodies that would complement each other. So Regal and Royal have a longer shoulder. T-Biscuit has a shorter shoulder. So they're actually both bred to this little guy. So hopefully I'm going to have a bunny that has their thick bone, but T-Biscuit's shorter shoulder. They both have awesome heads, both pairings, but the body is, and the legs is kind of what I'm working on in this pairing. So hopefully I get a bunny that ends up with both of the desired characteristics, and then I can move forward with that generation of bunny to try and create and better the breed. Because I don't breed these guys willy-nilly. I really do try to breed to the standard of perfection from the American Rabbit Breeders Association, which is the ARBA. I have pedigrees for all of these guys, and I work really hard to make sure that they're healthy and happy. This guy is super little, like he can fit in my hand still. So he's one of my herd bucks, so I like his attributes and think they're really good. And I like them enough to say, okay, he needs to be put into the herd, and I need, excuse me, sir, I need more of his attributes in the barn. So his personality, however, I would like a little bit less of, which is also why I kind of paired him with Regal and Royal, because they're both calmer does and he's a bit more flighty. So I'm hoping the babies take on more of their personality traits, because I like a really calm, laid-back rabbit. I don't want rabbits that are going to jump out of my hands or off the show table, because my mom breeds a showable color. This magpie color isn't showable. So most people kind of frown upon breeding that color just because you can't bring it to a show. But I do breed to the standard of perfection. So in any shows that happen in Canada are like minimum 5 or 6 hours away, and I just don't have the time to invest in driving that far with a bunch of bunnies. So I have chosen to breed a color that may not be showable, but I'm still working to perfect the breed within that color. So right? So this here is Bo. He's also one of my herd bucks. He's got a bit of a dirty nose because I think he was playing around in his litter box, but he is probably my most majestic boy. And I don't know if you can tell on screen, but he is quite a bit bigger than T-Biscuit. But this guy's face, man, it's just, I love it. Like his head is perfect. It's absolutely massive. This crown is like that wide. Like he's insane. And I love his color. I shouldn't say that because I don't like to be looked at as a color breeder, because I do really breed for type and personality before color. If they don't have the personality type or the body type conformation wise that I'm looking for, they do not stay. They get petted out. So I don't breed with anything that's less than satisfactory for conformation. But holy smokes, this guy has it all. He's got the calm personality, and he's actually the sire of Regal and Royal, and I think you can see where they got their noggins from. So I think that's super cool. And his color they also inherited, so they got his personality type, they got his head, and they got his color. So that was a really, really great breeding decision on my part. Those two babies are ones that I'm actually really proud of. He doesn't have the overly long shoulder that they have. Like he has it a little bit. So they ended up getting that long shoulder from the dam. But his bone also got passed down to them. He's an amazingly sweet guy, so I'm super happy with him. So one thing that is also really important to mention, which is really important for does actually, is to pick them up and check their feet. So he's maybe got some slightly pinched hindquarters. Actually, those are pretty good. So the feet should be straight up, just like they're doing. But if they're turned out like this, super drastic, then that means they have pinched hindquarters. But that can create a problem with does if they have pinched hindquarters, because that means that they've got a narrower birth canal than they normally would if their feet were straight. So the crooked V-shaped feet are an indicator of pinched hindquarters. And if they do have that, then it can create problems during birth. So that would result in stuck kits. So it's really important to note that if you have a buck and they do have pinched hindquarters, and pinched hindquarters is something that I struggle with in my herd. I'm going to be completely honest, like my rabbits are not perfect, but I am working towards that. So Bo here is a great help for working towards rabbits that do not have pinched hindquarters, because he's probably got the best hindquarters in the entire herd of my magpies. So that's why he gets to stay, and because of his other pleasing attributes. So that's one guy that I'm really proud of. Actually, he was in Manitoba with one of my best friends for probably a year before I got him back last year, and I'm so happy that she was willing to send him back to me, because he's a complete asset to the herd, and I'm so happy that I get to use him for breeding again. So now I'm going to show you guys kind of the things that you don't want to see in a rabbit. This is Countess. So she has a narrower face, which is what you don't want to see, and she has a slipped crown. Her crown width is also kind of tight, so that means that if you look at her from the front, they kind of angle this way when they should just angle straight down. Her bone is quite fine. You can see that she's got some really dainty feet, and she's also kind of long, but she's had 3 litters for me already. And something that happens with Holland Lops, sorry, I'm a little out of breath from running back and forth between the barn and here, but something that happens with does, Holland Lop does, I'm not sure if it happens for any other breed because I don't have experience with any other breeds other than French Lops, but they'll get a longer midsection the more litters they have. So if you do end up taking a doe to the show that has already had a couple litters, then you may end up being faulted for a longer midsection when she may not have originally had that. So that's also something to think about if you're buying a rabbit or selling a rabbit. You can say that they have a longer midsection, but it's also a result of having litters, so that's something to watch out for. She's got nicely shaped ears, but I find that they are too long. And then the slipped crown, I shouldn't be able to see the space here between her eye and the ear. If I pose this lady up correctly, or as correctly as I can do with one hand, there's a space here between her eye and her ear. That means her crown is placed too far back. This should be placed more forward so that you don't see this space between the eye and the ear. Now, some Holland Lops will sort of hold their ears forward so it looks like the crown is properly placed, but that may not be the case, so that's also something you need to watch out for. This girl is super pretty, but she's not the best typed rabbit, which leads me to another point that I'd like to make, which is sometimes the best rabbits, the most closely bred to the standard of perfection, may make ugly looking rabbits. I don't think she's ugly, but she's definitely not too standard in the breeding program. Sometimes the least conformationally correct animal will produce the best babies you've ever had. So this lady has produced Regal and Royal because she was paired with Beau. So those two made Regal and Royal. Her long shoulder was passed down to the babies, but I do find that they did take more of his attributes. So if you have a doe that is not quite up to the conformation standard that you want, but you have a really nice buck, you can do a test breeding and keep the babies to see how they grow out, and then you can see what she produces. Every litter that this doe has had keepers. Her first litter, I had 2 babies that I kept back out of 3. Her second litter had 2 babies and I kept both, and her third litter with me, actually I would be keeping both of those as well, but there's going to be one buck that goes to Ontario to a good friend of mine so that he can help out her breeding program. So out of 7 babies she's produced 6 keepers. And another thing that I need to mention is conformation and type and all that jazz is completely relative. Every person that judges their rabbits or breeds rabbits is going to have their own special opinion about whether the rabbit is breedable or not. So this is a video about my specific opinions based on what I've learned in the last 15 years of breeding this breed. I absolutely love this breed. I love these rabbits, and I do my best to make sure that I breed to the standard of perfection, even though I don't breed a showable color. So that's just another point that I'd like to make, is you gotta sometimes give rabbits a chance, even though they may not be up to standard. She got to stay because I didn't have a lot of does to work with when I was starting out this breeding program. So she probably was one of 3 does that stayed back because I just didn't have a whole lot to work with. So work with what you've got, but also be realistic and be honest with yourself about what you're keeping back. If you do have a rabbit like this and she doesn't produce keepers that are closer to the standard of perfection than she is, then maybe it's time to think about rehoming them. But she produces really good quality babies, so that's why she gets to stay. I know a lot of my comments may seem harsh, but I do really want to breed good quality rabbits. So the criteria that I have for breeding rabbits and keeping rabbits has to be not cutthroat, but you know, you've got to be honest with the animals that you're working with, because I really want to produce a good quality animal that has good temperament and good type. Those are the most important things in my breeding program. They're all also pets. So if you've got a rabbit that's lunging at you, that is trying to hurt you, or if they scratch, or if they're just really wild by nature, then I don't want to keep those and breed that into my program, because a lot of these rabbits I do sell as pets, and they make great pets, but only if you breed them for their personality traits on top of the conformation. So for me, I am really harsh with picking which ones get to stay. They have to be well-tempered. Like, I have had more bunny bites and scratches than I can count over the years, but we've gotten it to a point where we've selectively bred the personality traits of the rabbits so that most of them, you may have an odd outlier that may not be as well-tempered or tame or laid back or calm, but most of them have the same laid-back temperament that Regal and Royal do, as well as Beau and Countess. So if you start to breed for personality traits as well, then you're going to see a lot more of that pop up in your herd. So this is the last little dude that I'm going to be showing you guys. This is Ringo Star. This is a baby from Countess. So he's got some really good attributes too. He's got a wide chest, good bone, great ear placement. His crown is pretty wide both ways. His ear, when they started flopping, was flopping this way. So it's still learning to go this way. So you may see that if you're working with Holland Lops, but his carriage is amazing. I love his body. He's maybe a touch long in the shoulder, but overall this is a buck that I would keep, but I'm gonna end up with too many, so I need to let some go. He's a blue sable magpie. You can see because he's got some browning and shading going on, and that'll become more defined as he ages. He's a really, really cute little guy, and I'm excited to see what he's gonna do in Ontario, right? You a cutie? Wow. So a lot of my bunnies will sit still for the camera for a good long while, and that's just because I put a lot of time and effort into training them to sit for the camera, because I have an Instagram, it's called Holstein's Hops Rabbitry, and I take a lot of rabbit pictures. I love to set them up in front of a cute little backdrop and then make pictures like, look at how cute that is. So when they're babies, I'll start probably at around 3 or 4 weeks old. I'll start playing with them. I may not start taking pictures of them at that point, but I'll pose them. And as soon as they pose properly the way I want them to, I'm giving them praise and I'm giving them snuggles and little ear massages. That's one thing that rabbits really like, is when you massage their ears real gently. I know my house bunny absolutely adores this, and she'll just fall asleep in your lap. So that's one thing I want to mention, is that that's also why I like to breed for personality type as well, because the more laid back a bunny is naturally, the easier it is to train them. So these bunnies have been bred for 15 years for the calm, laid back personality trait, and that's why they do so well. So default setting is, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna roll with it. With that, I'm gonna end the video. I'm sure these guys are tired of me messing around with them. So let me know if you guys want another one of these videos to come out. I'm going to try and make the next one a rabbit care and health video. So what they need to eat, what they should be housed in, where they should, you know, get their exercise, just regular care as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.